So let's get going to talk all about collagen. If you have burning questions as we go along, feel free to type them into the chat area, and I'll do my best to get to all of those at the end of the presentation. I'll have about 45 to 50 minutes worth of information to share with you, and then we'll have time for questions later. We are going to cover all things related to collagen. Hold on, I'm having a hard time advancing my slides here for some reason. There we go. So we're going to talk about what collagen is, where it goes, and how to get it back is basically the plan here. Why it's important in the body, the types of things that accelerate collagen loss, how that manifests, how that can make you look and feel, for example, the impacts that it has on your health, as well as what we can do to minimize that loss, even restore collagen once it starts to decline. So this is a pretty interesting topic, and one I find around which there is a lot of myth and misinformation. It's been a very hot topic for a number of years, and based on the number of people we have online tonight, it continues to be a hot topic. And, does it live up to the hype? All the stuff you hear on social media? Well, let's find out. Okay, so what is collagen to begin with? Collagen is the glue that holds us together, you could say. It's a main structural protein in the body. Up to 35% of all of the protein in our body is collagen, and it really does make the scaffolding, you could say, for the structural aspects of all of the tissues in the body. Our skin is 75% collagen, so you can imagine that if collagen declines, our skin will be impacted, and we'll talk about that. Ligaments, they're also up to 90% collagen, depending on the ligament and where it is in the body, 70 to 90% collagen. Same thing with tendons, same thing with cartilage. You're looking at 70% collagen. Bones are 30% collagen. I'll spend a little bit of time talking about that later because this is an aspect of collagen that I think is often overlooked. And so it can be a really important part of bone health that we often don't talk about because we're so focused on minerals, for example. And even blood vessels are 40% collagen. So when collagen declines, or if collagen declines, blood vessels can be impacted. So literally throughout the body, collagen provides the scaffolding for all kinds of tissues. There are other tissue components that are important that we'll talk about, like elastin that provides a little bit of stretch, keratin, you find that in hair and nails, hyaluronic acid, this will provide hydration to tissues and even help with, creating cushioning in joints, for example, because of its hydration, and minerals as well, especially when we come to the bones. But collagen is really fundamental to our structure. So there are a couple dozen different types of collagen in the body. I mention that because you hear about different types of collagen, but the take-home point is, don't worry, there won't be a test on this complex-looking diagram. The fact is that even though there's a couple dozen different types of collagen in the body, 90% of the collagen in our body is what's called type 1. 9% of the collagen in our body is called type 2, and the rest, all the other, almost a couple dozen types is 1%. And so really it's the type 1 and 2 collagen that are the most important. Arguably, you'll find this type 1 collagen throughout the body, in the eyes, the blood vessels, the skin, the tendons, bones, it's the major collagen in almost all of our tissues, except for joints. So I mentioned that, type 2 collagen makes up 9% of the collagen in the body. And this is where we find a lot of the collagen in joints. You don't find quite as much type 1. It depends on where you're looking at. But so those are the big ones to think about. And again, it's providing the structure for almost every tissue that you can think of. And collagen is very, very strong. It rivals steel. So if you've had a fibril of collagen that was the same width as one of steel, it rivals steel in terms of its sheer strength. Collagen can bend, so it needs to be able to bend to form all these kinds of cool shapes like heart valves and ears and all the blood vessels, for example. But collagen, even though it bends, it doesn't stretch. Now, collagen is usually infused with elastic tissue called elastin. It's produced by the same cells that produce collagen. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So that's important to keep in mind that we also need to stretch a little bit. For example, our blood vessels, every time the heart pumps, those need to expand and contract with each pump of the heart. And depending on the tissue you're looking at, we need a little bit of stretch. But for the most part, collagen is very strong and flexible, and the stretch comes from elastin. So take-home point here is most of the collagen in the body is type 1 with a little bit of type 2 in our joints, and then a whole lot of different types, teeny amounts elsewhere. Now, I don't normally do this in terms of showing a graph or a chart that has so many numbers on it. So please don't let your eyes glaze over on this. And again, there will not be a test. However, maybe I need to come up with a better graph to show this information, but it shows how much collagen your body needs to make on a daily basis just to keep up with sort of general maintenance. So in other words, like all tissues, collagen-containing tissues are constantly breaking down and being remodeled throughout life. I don't know if you've heard that you're like a whole new person every 7 years because just about all the tissue has been broken down and replaced. Now, certain tissues turn over faster than others. But every tissue turning over at its own unique rate, depending on what that tissue is, usually requires the body to make new collagen to keep up with that cell or tissue turnover. And this is how the body gets rid of old, dead, or damaged tissue and basically maintains the health and quality of the tissue that you have. So when people are young, especially in children, teens, people in their 20s, this turnover happens so efficiently that you don't even notice usually that it's happening. But in the turnover, you have a process of breakdown and a process of buildup. And again, like I said, when we're young, the breakdown and the buildup usually happen at the same rate. So we don't notice any loss or problems usually associated with this, unless somebody has a, say, inherited collagen deficiency. But as we get older, the breakdown process can start to exceed the body's ability to build it back up. The body has to make at least 1 pound of collagen every 5 days to properly remodel tissues. And if you don't believe me, this is what the chart shows is the breakdown. So most of the collagen in your body, or the largest mass of collagen, if you want to look at one organ system, is in the skeleton. Our bones, in fact, have, depending on the size of the person, 1.6 kilograms roughly of collagen in your bones. About 2.6 of that percent of that is turning over on a daily basis. And that means your body needs to make 43 grams of collagen every day just to maintain the level of collagen in your bones. Skin is next, coming up almost 1.4 kilograms, 1.4 kilograms of collagen in your skin. 2% of that turns over every day, which means you need to make almost 28 grams, 27.8, almost 28 grams of collagen every day, new fresh collagen, to maintain your skin health. And so on down the list, about 500 grams in the muscles. Based on this turnover rate, you need to make about 18 grams of collagen per day to maintain your muscles, and probably more if you exercise. And so all of this adds up to the average person having almost 4 kilograms of collagen in their body. And the rate at which it's turning over, you need to make almost 100 grams, 97 grams of collagen per day. So that works out to, after 5 days, you need to make 500 grams of collagen, which is about a pound. Now, I'm going through all of these numbers not to overwhelm you, but just to drive home the point that we need to make a lot of this. And as we get older, our body's ability to make new collagen can slow down. And that means the breakdown process is going faster than the buildup, and there can be a deficit. So let's talk about, what that is and what happens. So the body's ability to replace collagen that's being broken down starts to slow as early as our 20s. but we don't really notice it until maybe the mid 30s. And then we'll start to see the first fine lines around the eyes. And that's usually the first sign for most people because, again, the skin has such a high requirement, so much collagen, such a high requirement for it to be replaced. And of course, we can't see what's happening in the bones. We don't see what's happening there, but we start to see the fine lines in the skin. But this is not, nobody loves those, that sign of aging. That's not true. Some people love them. It adds character to the face. However, as we start to see the changes in the collagen loss from the outside, there usually is collagen loss and definitely collagen loss happening on the inside. So this 1% loss that's happening because the body can't keep up with replacing that normal collagen that's turning over. So in addition to the normal loss of that 1% per year as part of the aging process, there are a number of factors that will accelerate the loss of collagen. Now, this particular graphic here on the side looks at skin aging and the appearance of skin aging, but just keep in mind, this is not just aesthetics or not just skin deep, because for most things, except for UV radiation, which only affects the skin superficially, and it only affects the part of the skin that the UV radiation has touched, then the rest of these things are also accelerating generally the loss of collagen throughout the body. So yes, age is a factor, but many of the factors, age is a factor we can't control, but many of the factors are things we can control or we at least try to control. We know stress will increase the stress hormone cortisol, and cortisol will accelerate the loss of collagen and slow our ability to be able to replace it. Collagen loss also begins to accelerate for women at menopause because of the changes in estrogen levels. UV light, as I mentioned, everybody knows that sun will damage the skin, but again, that is only on the skin and superficially. There's some interesting pictures of people who've, damaged, say, one half of their face through driving, as a truck driver for 40 years, and the side of the face that faced the window, it looks 20 years older than the right side, for example. Nutrition levels make a big impact, and we're going to focus on this, of course. Being a naturopathic doctor, I'll focus on nutrition. Iron levels. Now, here's a PSA, public service announcement. It is important to check your iron levels. If your ferritin, specifically, is below 50, you're going to have a hard time making new collagen. Even you'd want to aim for it to be even higher, more like 75. Most people do not get alerted to low iron levels until you're down in, the teens or even less, really, really low levels. So ferritin under 50, you're going to have more lines on your face. That is a sign and symptom of iron deficiency because you can't make collagen. So just keep that in mind. And then there's smoking. That's an easy one and a no-brainer. But the reason why smoking is problematic is because of all of the free radicals that's generated that accelerate collagen deterioration, make it harder to make new collagen. Lack of exercise is also associated with poor collagen replacement. Any kind of inflammation in the body can contribute or make it more challenging to make collagen. And any other forms of free radical damage, exposure to chemicals, pesticides, for example, these kinds of things will accelerate collagen loss. So the good news here is, except for the aging process and arguably, menopause, a lot of the factors that impact your collagen levels are within our control. And we, haven't even really talked about nutrition yet because it's super important. So in terms of skin, I'm just going to look at just briefly and a little bit more depth the impact that collagen loss has in a couple of the key areas in the body, because I know some people are interested in collagen for skin concerns, some for joint health concerns, maybe some for bone or even heart health, blood vessel concerns. The average person's skin decreases in thickness by 6.4% every 10 years, starting in their 30s. And again, this is because, as I mentioned, collagen, there's a lot of collagen in the skin, and so there's a high daily requirement for it to be replaced. And if we're not doing that, then the skin will start to thin. And in menopausal women, postmenopausal, so once there's been, 12 months since the last menses, there is often, because of the changes in estrogen levels, there can be an acceleration. So a period there where there's a faster than usual loss of skin collagen in that first 5 years. It then slows down, but that can be a big change. So, and that's because the lower estrogen levels during this time can impair collagen and elastin production, so skin thickness and elasticity. And there's also a factor here of homocysteine levels. Now, you may have heard of homocysteine levels as a risk factor for heart disease as well as Alzheimer's disease. This is an amino acid complex that's unhealthy, and it's a marker for these conditions. The good news is that in general, B vitamins will help you lower your levels of homocysteine. Homocysteine has been shown to impair, in addition to increasing your risk of heart attack and dementia, it can impair your collagen production. And for most people, taking B vitamins helps. If you have a methylation problem in terms of B vitamins, you may have to take pre-methylated B vitamins. I won't get into the technical details on that, but just keep that in mind for those who are aware of that. And then bone, as I mentioned, our bones seem so solid. We think about them as so solid and hard, and they are, and they're very strong. But if our bones were just made of minerals, they would be very brittle. Bones need to bounce. If you fall, your bones need to be able to flex a little bit. That's what stops them from breaking. So collagen is the protein matrix, you could say, provides the flexible framework to bones that then the minerals like calcium will bind to the collagen. So there's a few important things going on here. First of all, because collagen is soft and flexible, it lends our bones some bounce so they can flex and not snap. And also, if our collagen levels are declining, that means that the matrix for the bones starts to shrink. And so this, when we talk about bone health, is often an overlooked aspect of bone health, that you can throw all kinds of minerals and calcium and even vitamin K2 at your bones, but if they're lacking that collagen matrix, then there may be nowhere for the minerals to bind. The average woman loses 8 to 9% of bone mineral density every 10 years after the age of 50 or after menopause. And this is in large part due to this shrinkage of the collagen matrix. So it's something to keep in mind. Oops. And then I just want to mention something about arteries. I mentioned earlier that arteries are 40% collagen, lots of elastin in there, of course, because they need to stretch with every heartbeat. And normal arteries with sufficient collagen have smooth walls, whereas the gradual loss of collagen from our arteries can lead to thinning in areas of the arterial walls, which in turn, when the body tries to repair those thin areas, can end up accumulating plaques. And so this can be an underlying factor to heart disease, arterial disease, even stiffness in the arteries as the body tries to sort of shore up these thinner areas that are lacking in collagen and ends up depositing more calcium. And then this becomes problematic. There's a well-known association between a diagonal earlobe crease as well as coronary artery disease. And this was something that was noticed a long time ago. And you can see a picture here of somebody with a deep a crease in their earlobe. Now, the crease is caused by a loss of collagen. So it's essentially a wrinkle in the earlobe. And yet, this deep wrinkle in the earlobe is thought to be a loss of collagen that is mirroring a loss of collagen in the arteries. And it's sometimes called the Frank sign after Dr. Saunders T. Frank, who first reported this correlation that this diagonal earlobe crease is a potential indicator of coronary artery disease. So again, the common underlying factor is this loss of collagen. I know everybody's feeling their earlobes right now, or going to check it later, but we're going to get to some solutions. We've talked all about, collagen loss. We're going to say one more thing about collagen breakdown in your joints, because collagen keeps your joints flexible and silent. The ends of our bones contain specialized types of cartilage, excuse me, that is 60% collagen by dry weight. So lots of collagen in our joints. And since collagen holds water, this collagen-rich covering allows our bones to glide over each other with very little friction. That's why there is so much collagen, and this particular hyaline form is particularly holds a lot of water. So as we age and our ability to produce collagen diminishes, stiff and noisy joints begin to occur. And this is certainly something I've noticed. I have one creaky knee that can get quite noisy, and so I can't sneak up on my kids. But then when I top up my collagen after a couple weeks, it quiets down again, which is fun. Okay, so that's all the bad news. It's all of the places their collagen should be, but it's not, or where it tends to disappear from. So keep in mind that collagen loss is a consequence of the aging process. In part, there's other things that we mentioned. Nutrition is important. Stress, we'll get into that. Stress can accelerate it. Poor sleep, even. I don't think I even mentioned that. But the collagen loss, even though it's a consequence of the aging factor and doesn't necessarily driving, it's a result of all of these things. It's, these things that we notice, see, and feel, the wrinkles, the creaky joints, etc., probably define the aging process more than anything else. That's how, what we perceive with the aging process. So how do we get our collagen back? How do we support our body so it can start to catch up a little bit in terms of replacing that normal collagen turnover? Well, collagen's produced by specialized cells called fibroblasts. And fibroblasts make collagen fibrils. Fibroblasts also make elastin. And so these are the components being made in the fibroblasts. So we want to be able to support our fibroblasts by, in trying to minimize the things that inhibit them, like lack of sleep and stress. Get a little exercise, that helps the fibroblasts. But we also want to help them by providing them with the nutrients, the raw materials, as well as supportive nutrients they need to build collagen, and then protect collagen once it's formed. We're going to talk about these things sort of kind of go back and forth between protecting our collagen and helping the body make new collagen. But let's talk about how we can do this. So there are different ways to support your collagen. You may have heard in terms of supplements. So I've talked a little bit about the things to avoid, try to keep the stress down, obviously avoid smoking. Sun damage will affect your collagen where the sun, reaches the skin. I try to, wear sunscreen on my face, but I do let my body, I don't generally put sunscreen on my body unless I'm going to be at the beach all day and trying to avoid a tan, because vitamin D is important as well. But then once you have taken care of all of those steps, how do we start to, support the fibroblasts to get them to make more collagen? So there are, you could say, two main paths: bioactive hydrolyzed collagen peptides. We'll talk about those. And then collagen, other types of collagen generators. There's one main one. You could do either of these or both. I'll talk about that. And then we want to protect your collagen. Very, very briefly, vitamin C is super important. We'll talk about that. The amino acid lysine, protein intake in general, because of course your body needs amino acids to make collagen because it's a protein. Stress support, smart sun exposure, and not excessively partying so much. Okay. One super important thing, if you only remember one thing after tonight, let it be that vitamin C is extremely important for collagen production. It is required for both of their, so there's two main enzymes that make collagen. They both require vitamin C to do their job. And a deficiency in vitamin C will inhibit your collagen production. That's not to say that if you load up on vitamin C, you'll automatically start making more collagen. We need a little bit more than that. However, if you're low in vitamin C, you're going to have weak connective tissue, poorly formed collagen, weak collagen fibrils, weak connections between those fibrils. We need vitamin C for three main things. The first one, and I'm talking here in order of importance. So if you don't have abundant amounts of vitamin C in your diet, your body will triage and send your vitamin C towards these three functions in this order. First one is the production of stress hormones. The body uses vitamin C to make epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, as well as cortisol, but mostly those fight or flight hormones. Next is our immune system. And third is collagen production. We use vitamin C for other things. Of course, it's a fantastic antioxidant, but those are the three main things: stress, immune, and collagen. So if you are under stress and you don't have a lot of vitamin C coming in, your body will take all the vitamin C you have and put it towards your fight or flight hormones because that's the most urgent need the body perceives. And if you don't have enough vitamin C for all of your needs, you will look stressed after being stressed. This is why people look haggard once they have been stressed. You see the dark circles under the eyes because the connective tissue under the eyes is thinning, so you can see through to the dark matrix underneath. You can see more lines around this. People just look haggard, right? That's because the body didn't have enough vitamin C to make fight or flight hormones and to make enough collagen. So top up on vitamin C when you're stressed, as well as just to make collagen. So vitamin C, of course, water soluble. It can't be made by humans. We don't make, most mammals make their own vitamin C. We can't. So it's an essential dietary nutrient that must be consumed or supplemented. A higher vitamin C intake has been associated with a lower likelihood of a wrinkled appearance, less dryness, and brighter skin. You're probably all familiar with vitamin C creams. They really do, and serums and whatnot, they really do, when applied topically, brighten the skin. But as well, taken internally, it helps with collagen production and skin brightness. And vitamin C is affected by aging, smoking, UV light, genetics, diet, and lifestyle style factors. So getting adequate amounts of vitamin C and topping up when you're under stress is a good idea. Okay, so that just needed to be said about vitamin C. Now, talking about collagen proteins, so bioactive hydrolyzed collagen peptides. So what's called native collagen, which is collagen. So you can find collagen in foods. For example, if you were to make a bone broth or, protein-rich foods, meat, for example, collagen is sourced from animal foods. Plants don't make collagen, but in its natural state, let's say if you had a piece of chicken or fish, or you made a soup with them, then the collagen is quite a large molecule. It is what's called 300,000 Dalton. So it's a big protein. And so although it's good for digestive health, for example, you don't absorb it whole. The body will tend to break it down into individual amino acids often, and then those are absorbed. But hydrolyzed collagen peptides, collagen from either a bovine source or marine source, are taken, and then in the laboratory, they're broken down with enzymes into these small peptides that are usually 2 or 3 amino acids long. Now, these very small peptides are absorbed whole. They're absorbed intact. So one of the biggest myths about hydrolyzed collagen peptides or collagen supplements is that, oh, you'll take a collagen peptide supplement and you're just going to break it down or digest it like you would any other protein. And that's not the case. It has been demonstrated that these small peptides are absorbed intact. And what's interesting is so these little amino acid sequences, 2, 3 amino acids long, are absorbed whole, and then they go circulate in the bloodstream, and the fibroblasts see these little peptides, these little collagen fragments, and say, oh, look at all this broken down collagen. We must be, turning over a lot of collagen. Let's start making more. And it stimulates the fibroblasts to start making more collagen. And then they take the amino acids that you absorbed and use that as the building block. So this acts as both a signal to your fibroblasts as well as a fuel source and a nutrient source for the fibroblast to make collagen. So that's how collagen peptides work. Quite a lot of research on them. Many of them show, 30 days to reduced fine lines around the eyes, which again, you think about that as a marker for improvements in collagen throughout the body. Improvements have been shown. Takes longer usually with bone density studies. They'll do, 12 months, something like that, but showing improvements in collagen tissues throughout the body. So here as an example of a hydrolyzed collagen protein supplement that uses a form of collagen peptides called Verisol. So this is a branded form that has quite a number of clinical trials behind it to show, again, for example, that 30-day guarantee of reduction in fine lines around the eyes. And the total body collagen, in addition to the Verisol collagen peptides, it contains a number of other ingredients that will complement the actions of the collagen peptides. For example, hyaluronic acid is added to this, to the collagen peptides here. And hyaluronic acid, you've probably heard, is a compound that can absorb up to 1,000 times its weight in water. So really plumps up the skin, plumps up the joints. This is what also really helps with that joint creakiness. Remember that hyaline cartilage in the joints. This hyaluronic acid is sometimes injected into joints, something called Synvisc, for example. So it's hyaluronic acid injected into the joints. It will absorb water and then help make synovial fluid in the joints. It can also be ingested. It's added to this formula in these collagen peptides to complement the actions of the collagen. Biotin is a nutrient that can promote healthy hair, skin, and nails. Vitamin C is included in this as a cofactor in the production of collagen. Again, I would say take more if you're under stress, but if you're not under stress, then there's adequate amounts of vitamin C here for your collagen production. L-glutamine to help support muscle protein synthesis. So again, good option for people who are active, working out, for example. And the most important thing, and this is, again, if you're going to remember two things, I mentioned the vitamin C. This is a really important take-home point for any kind of collagen supplement. Collagen is not a complete protein. It is naturally missing the amino acid tryptophan. So tryptophan when you add tryptophan to collagen, then you have a complete protein. If you take collagen supplements that don't contain tryptophan, you can end up with a tryptophan deficiency, lower levels of tryptophan. This, for some people, can affect mood and sleep. So just to be aware of that now if you have another collagen product that you like, just take some 5-HTP or tryptophan along with it. Doesn't take much, but it avoids this imbalance. There are a number of interesting studies to show this. Okay, so total body collagen comes in flavored and unflavored powder. So there's a completely unflavored powder. This is what people often are putting in their coffee in the morning, or there's a pomegranate or orange flavored powder. Typically, it's 1 scoop per day. It also comes in tablets for people who don't want a powder. And that you're looking at 4 tablets per day because collagen is a pretty bulky molecule. But for the individuals who, for whatever reason, don't want a powder, the powder is quite nice, but you can get it in maybe easy to travel tablets. So the total body collagen is a bovine collagen. There is also a total body marine collagen. So if you you don't want a bovine source for whatever reason, then there is a marine option. Same guarantee in terms of reducing the number of wrinkles. In this case, the collagen peptides have been sourced from sustainable wild-caught white fish from France, actually. And this is total body marine collagen that provides bioactive hydrolyzed collagen peptides to promote skin and healthy connective tissues, reducing the number of wrinkles in 28 days, helping to produce joint pain associated with osteoarthritis, and supporting lean muscle growth. So all of those other ingredients are added to the total body marine collagen with, you have to look for the one that says with hyaluronic acid, glutamine, biotin, etc., tryptophan. I won't go over, there's a lot of information here, but just is looking at a handful of some of the clinical work on collagen peptides, looking at its strengthening nails, decreasing the incidence of nail breakage, facilitating the synthesis of collagen and elastin, helping reduce the depth of wrinkles, helping to improve is my cellulite study here. There are studies as well on cellulite, because again, cellulite comes from a weakening of the connective tissue underneath the skin that makes then the skin appear more wrinkled or dimpled. So improvements in skin hydration, combination of the collagen as well as hyaluronic acid can help with the appearance of cellulite. Also helping to strengthen bone density, helping with healthy joints, lots of research about collagen peptides. Okay. The single most common question I get asked about collagen is what is a vegan collagen? And as I mentioned, collagen only comes from animals. There is no such thing as a vegan collagen. However, there is a mineral-based, non-animal-based, so vegan product called choline stabilized orthosilicic acid. That's a real mouthful. So you can just say OSA or you can just say Biosil. This is the only choline stabilized orthosilicic acid that I'm aware of on the market. And this was one that is a product that was originally developed and tested actually for bone density was the goal here. And then people noticed that they had a reduction in their skin wrinkles, that their nails were smooth and shiny without ragged cuticles and growing fast again. That's a lot of people will report. And this is another sign and symptom we see of the waning collagen, even though our nails aren't made of collagen, they're made of keratin, but that rough appearance and jagged cuticles that people will get. And so Biosil is the vegan collagen generator. Now, it will also go into the body, and this form of silicic acid will stimulate your fibroblasts to produce collagen. So similar process here. Now, even though this is a vegan product, do be aware that your body does need, of course, amino acids. In this one, the Biosil will stimulate your fibroblasts to produce collagen, but it doesn't provide amino acids. So make sure that your diet contains protein so that you have the amino acid building blocks to make the collagen. So Biosil comes in either liquid. Be warned, the liquid has a very strong flavor. That's the original form of it, though. That's the OG. So consider the liquid very, very strong because choline has a very strong flavor naturally. It also comes in hard shell capsules, or you can get the liquid inside these little soft gel capsules. Lots of interesting clinical research. Again, there's lots on this slide, just a snapshot of some of the clinical research. Reduction in fine lines and wrinkles by 30%. Increase in skin elasticity really gets the fibroblasts to help produce more elastin. Increase in hair strength and thickness by about 13%. Fortifies nails significantly. Again, this is what people report and will notice. It's a little thing, but it's funny how happy it makes people when their nails are smooth and shiny again. Bones increase in bone collagen production, increase in bone mineral density at the hip by 2%, which doesn't sound like much unless you have low bone density, then you'd be very happy with that. and reduction in joint pain and stiffness. So all the kinds of signs and symptoms that we expect from improvements in collagen. So as I mentioned, a BioSil in its natural state is a liquid. You can take this in drops, but choline naturally has a very strong, kind of a fishy flavor. That's just how it tastes in nature. But you can have it in the drops or in the hard shell capsules. And typically you're looking at 5 drops twice a day, or 1 capsule twice a day, or these little, the liquid inside these little soft gel caps is a newer product. Again, 1 capsule twice a day. Time here. Oh, good. We're right on time. Okay, so I just want to say a few things, in part because I always get asked about vitamin K2, but in part because this is a supportive nutrient. Actually, there is a little bit of preliminary information that suggests that vitamin K2 helps with collagen production. There is not enough to recommend it purely on that basis. However, vitamin K2 is a nutrient that helps direct calcium in the body. So getting it into your bones and teeth, keeping it away from your arteries. We know that one of the problems when skin starts to lose is elasticity. Yes, we can be producing less elastin with age as the fibroblasts slow down, but the elastic tissues can start to accumulate a little bit of calcium on them. And so this affects the elasticity of our collagen-containing tissues. So vitamin K2 is a nutrient that will guide calcium to your bones and teeth and keep it away from arteries, heel spurs, kidney stones, the elastic tissues throughout the body, and all of the places where you don't want it to be building up. So vitamin K2 is not stored in the body and it's not recycled. So it has to be taken in the diet daily. And if you don't have vitamin K2 over time, you will eventually develop a deficiency. Food sources of vitamin K2 include grass-fed animal foods such as egg yolks, grass-fed butter and cheese, if you can find it, and goose liver. Certain types of fermented foods, so certain cheeses, Brie, Gouda, Jarlsberg, Gruyere is a new one to add to the list. I think I also just came across a study that said Manchego cheese is high in vitamin K2. That's been newly tested. Also, natto, N-A-T-T-O, the Japanese fermented soy food, as well as vitamin K2 supplements. So here's a look at vitamin K2 supplements. Again, the idea here is to keep calcium in its place to prevent the stretchy elastic tissues within your collagen-containing tissues from calcifying. So keep the calcium out of your arteries and in your bones. And I encourage you to eat, the delicious cheeses or natto if you can find it. Otherwise, you can consider a vitamin K2 supplement. It's available on its own in 100 microgram capsules. It's available also in combination with vitamin D, because vitamin D and K2 work together. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium. But once the calcium is absorbed, vitamin D has no control over where it goes. That is the job of vitamin K2, to then take the calcium and move it where you want it to be and keep it from depositing in your tissues. Okay, so that is a look at sort of collagen supplements, who can benefit, and I have a few different options showing here. I didn't want to overwhelm you by talking about all of them, but men and women looking for preventative and non-invasive treatments backed by science to help restore collagen in the skin, bones, joints, arteries. Anybody 21 plus concerned about the appearance of wrinkles, facial fine lines. Postmenopausal women or perimenopausal women who are struggling with bone density. Anyone suffering from joint pain, reduced mobility of osteoarthritis, because again, this is what gets impacted in terms of inflammation in the joints and collagen loss from the cartilage. And adults looking to support muscle recovery, lean muscle mass, flexibility, and strength. So anybody who is exercising can certainly benefit from this, because you're having additional collagen turnover in the muscles. As a friendly reminder, please do check your iron levels. If you feel like you're looking more wrinkled than you expect to be at your age and or have any other signs, symptoms associated with low iron, because we cannot make iron. You could take your collagen peptides, you could take your Biosil, but if you are low in iron, your body won't be able to do that because you need iron to make collagen. So just as a reminder there. Okay, this is a summary of everything we've talked about, eating protein-rich foods. Consider bone broth as a supplement to your diet. Vitamin C-rich foods like citrus, berries, cruciferous, all very important, we know. Protecting your skin from sun exposure where you care about preserving your collagen. Quit smoking, if we need to say it. Sugar, and alcohol intake in moderation. Manage your stress, getting adequate sleep, engaging in physical activity in moderation, again, and because you can overdo it, and if your collagen can't keep up, it'll show. And then consider hydrolyzed collagen peptides and or other collagen generators.